The Unplayable Podcast is proudly presented by Qantas, the official podcast partner and the official airline partner of Cricket Australia. Once again this season, Qantas is proud to be flying Australia's cricketers as they take on the world. Hey everybody, welcome to a bonus episode of the Unplayable Podcast ahead of Australia's one-day series against India, starting in Perth on Sunday. Jack Paynter is over there covering the match for cricket.com.au and the Unplayable Podcast, and there's been a few updates around the Aussie squad that are worth talking about, plus a chat with Matthew Renshaw and Xavier Bartlett coming up. So Jack, how's things over there in the West?
Hello, Josh. Yeah, bright and sunny today. So it's looking good for Australian training. Bit of rain around in the forecast for Sunday, but hopefully that holds off and we can get a full game in over here at Perth Stadium.
So the news that's come through today on Friday is that Cameron Green, who was initially named in the three matches, is now going to miss this ODI series. It's being replaced by Marnus Labuschagne, who's of course in a hot purple patch at the minute. What's the latest with Green, and is it a concern for the first test?
Yeah, so it's concerning just given he just returned to bowling following that back surgery last year. But Cricket Australia are saying it's a very minor, low-grade side soreness. So they're not even calling it a side strain at this point. But, I saw him walking in the WACA yesterday morning. He looked fit and healthy. So I think they're just taking a very cautious approach given the significance of the Ashes coming up next month, and they want him playing as a fully fledged all-rounder. So they've ruled him out of the three-match series, but he's hopeful of returning in Western Australia's next Shield match beginning on October 28.
Right, so was this an injury from bowling in that last Shield match that he played?
No, so they said it was at training this week ahead of the first ODI in Perth on Sunday. So he must have just felt a little bit in his side. It's not related to the back surgery he had last year, so it's just from bowling. So yeah, it seems like they've been very cautious around that. He only bowled 4 overs in that Shield match on day 2, I think it was. I am told he did bowl an extended spell in the nets the day before, so he has been bowling, looking quite comfortable. He bowled quite well in those 4 overs, took a wicket with his second ball. So I think it's just a very small setback, hopefully, for Australia, and we'll see him back bowling that Shield match all going well.
Yeah, okay, fingers crossed for Green. It, of course, brings Marnus Labuschagne back into this squad. Originally, he was left out after looking all at sea in that South Africa series a couple of months ago now, but he's been in hot form in domestic cricket, 4 centuries in 5 innings, and he gets his reward to come straight back into this team.
Yeah, what a turnaround for Marnus it's been since he got back from that series. Hot start for Queensland. He scored another 100 in the Shield match just gone in Adelaide, so that was another big 100. So he's in probably the hottest form batter in Australia at the moment, and he could even slot straight back into the ODI side at this point because you had Green, who was probably going to bat at 4. That's where Matt Renshaw, who is new into the ODI squad, has batted for Queensland. So they do need a number 3. They've got Matt Short in the squad. Cooper Connolly is obviously opened in the Champions Trophy. But yeah, Marnus and the form he's in could just come straight back into the side. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, okay. And of course, as we touched on earlier in the week, Josh Inglis won't be there for the first couple of matches. Josh Philippe is around. And then there's also the retirements of Steve Smith and Glenn Maxwell from this team. So it's going to be a very different looking Australian lineup than perhaps what the Aussie fans are used to seeing.
Yeah, that's right. Plenty of opportunities in that middle order. And they've got Mitch Owen in the squad too, who hasn't played an ODI, but he was in the squad for the series that you covered up in the top end, Josh, until he got ruled out with concussion, I think it was. So he's obviously in their plans as well as they build towards that next World Cup in 2027. So look for him to get opportunities, Matt Renshaw to get opportunities, Matt Short, where he slots into the order, I'm not quite sure, but Cooper Connolly's coming off 5 wickets in his last ODI. So there's plenty of chances there for someone to put their hand up and say, I want to be in this ODI side and I want to be in that sort of World Cup in 2 years' time.
Definitely. Now, the opponents for the Aussies, Jack, are, of course, India, fresh off a test match against the West Indies just earlier this week, and they've brought out the big guns for this series, including a couple of legends of their side.
Yeah, that's right. India have got Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in their ODI squad, which is the only format they're still playing international cricket because they've retired from Test cricket and T20 internationals, obviously. So they had an extended hit on Thursday night and then on Friday morning. So they've both been netting quite well. We're hitting the ball quite crisply, I would say, and they're in good moods because after his net on Thursday night, Virat Kohli went over to a few fans who were hanging around the fence and signed a few autographs, took a few selfies. So he appears to be, happy to be here, and that's good news for India because he was batting quite well.
Yeah, Virat perhaps just soaking in what is potentially his final tour of Australia until maybe we see him in the Big Bash down the line, Jack. That would be
Never know. Can only
that'd be a
hope.
turn up. But there's a new leader of this Indian side as well, Shubman Gill, Test captain and now ODI captain. He's a very classy player, and you had a bit of a watch of him in the nets.
Yeah, he didn't train on Thursday night, but he trained on Friday. As you mentioned, that Test match only wrapped up on Tuesday. So the players who are in both squads flew Wednesday. The support staff arrived Thursday, and they're straight back into it. So yeah, he's taken over from Rohit Sharma, who obviously led them to that Champions Trophy title in February. But if Shubman Gill's form when he took over as Test captain is anything to go by, he could be in for a big series here against Australia because against England he scored 400s, including a double in his first series as captain. So he comes in off the back of another 100 in that test against the West Indies that wrapped up this week.
Perth generally for ODIs is a pretty good batting strip. I imagine it looks the same. Have you had a look at the middle out there?
I can see it now from where I'm sitting, Josh, and doesn't look to be too much green grass on it at the moment, and we're a few days out from the match, so should be good for batting. But it should be noted that India have never played an ODI here. Australia have never won one here in 3 attempts. They've lost all 3 matches, been bowled out cheaply by South Africa and Pakistan in their last 2 matches. So although we'd think it's good for batting, the Aussies haven't had much success here, so they'll be obviously out to rewrite that record in the first ODI coming up.
Now, Jack, I know you're over in Western Australia, but it's a good year to be a Queenslander. Obviously, Queensland had success in the Australian Rules Football League and the men's and women's competitions of the National Rugby League as well. And you spoke to 2 Queenslanders who are in this Aussie squad and looking to perhaps add to that success that the Queenslanders have had this year.
We did, yeah. We spoke to Matt Renshaw and Xavier Bartlett, who obviously 2 of those guys on the fringes hoping to cement their spots in this side. And we actually had to remind Matt Renshaw of when he was last in the ODI squad because he told us a bit of a story about how he was, got the notification that he was back in the ODI squad and he had to remember when he was last in it. So we helped Renders out there. We also chatted about their good mate, Matt Kuhneman, and whether they still consider him a Queenslander, even though he's playing for Tasmania anymore. And yeah, there was a good chat about, how Matt Renshaw has transformed his, ODI game in recent years to earn this opportunity, as well as Xavier Bartlett and Renshaw getting opportunities with the A squad over the past couple of years that have put them into this position on the cusp of national selection.
All right, let's get into it.
Matthew Renshaw, Xavier Bartlett, thanks for joining us here on the Unplayable Podcast from Perth Stadium, where, of course, Australia play India in the first ODI on Sunday. Thoughts on the setup? How's the pitch looking out there? Did you get to have a look?
Yeah, we're still a few days out, so I'm not sure, but normally we just come in the day before, look at the pitch and play the next day. So it's weird training here, being in the home room. So, yeah, a bit different this time.
And you guys are repping Queensland in this ODI squad. We've also got Matty Kuhneman. Are you still counting him as a Queenslander? Does, of course, play for the Brisbane Heat still, but with Tasmania in the domestic comps?
Yeah, I don't know how much time he's actually spent down in Tassie. But yeah, he's a Heat. He's not a Queenslander anymore. He's Tasmanian. We play against him. He tries to get us out. He sledges us when we're playing. So yeah, he's Tasmanian.
He'll be filthy with that.
Did he still spend a lot of time back in Brisbane? Do you see him around?
Yeah, I reckon he spends a lot more time in, I'm going to say, the Gold Coast than he does in Hobart. Yeah, absolutely loves it. Loves his surfing and loves the beach lifestyle. But I think he's starting to take to the Hobart lifestyle a bit more. He's starting to get into golf. So next time he's on the pod, get him into that.
You're Gold Coast as well. Did you sort of grow up playing together?
Yeah, grew up playing together at the Gold Coast Dolphins and went to the same school. So, yeah, we've known each other for probably 10 or 11 years. So, yeah, know him pretty well.
Matt, you're obviously back in the ODI squad. Congratulations. It was a bit of a surprise for me that, given how young you were when you made your test debut, you actually hadn't played an ODI yet. But, I mean, it comes as no surprise to anyone who's followed the One Day Cup and Brisbane Heat over the last few years that you're back in this squad. So I guess, was it something that was on your radar at the start of the summer to be sort of here in this position?
Yeah, it feels weird because when I got announced that I was back in the squad, I couldn't remember when I was in the squad, but it was when we went to Pakistan. I think I flew over there. I think I was in lockdown more than I was out in the ground, so it didn't feel like I was part of the squad at all. But yeah, it was really nice to get picked in this, but no, it probably wasn't on my radar after the last couple of games, but just was more thinking going down to Adelaide, playing Shield game, trying to score some runs. But yeah, it's a nice surprise.
Talk us through that call, I guess, and who spoke to you and what you thought when the name popped up on the phone.
Well, George Bailey was actually at the game, so he just pulled me aside the last Shield game and just said, hey, "You're in the one day squad," and I was like, didn't know there was any one days on. I made sure I looked on Google, see when the games were on. I was like, okay, cool. This is a bit different to what I was planning.
You obviously bat in the middle order for Queensland and the Heat in white ball cricket, and you have done for a long time. I think the last time you opened in white ball cricket, I think was maybe 2017, 2018. You've averaged around 50 in the 50 over format for the past 4 years. Talk us, I guess, through that, development of your white ball game that's got you into this position where you are now.
Yeah, I think with one day cricket, I think you get sucked into the opening part. Everyone wants to open the batting. Everyone wants to bat in the top when there's only two fielders out. Whereas I really enjoy coming in that middle when there's four fielders out, when the spin's on, trying to sort of work out the game scenario, whether I need to go hard, whether I need to sort of conserve some wickets in hand. But I enjoy that part of one day cricket, and T20 cricket is trying to control that middle overs.
And your strike rate as well, I think in the Big Bash was 170 last year, I think. And then 100, and that was a bit of an upshift from previous seasons as well. Did you do any work on that kind of part of the game?
I think it was more just the real trust in myself and that bravery going, if I feel like I've got a match up, knowing that the team and the support staff around me can, if he gets out trying to hit a six on a matchup that he feels is right, then go for that. So I feel like it was the bravery, it was the ability to hit boundaries where I probably would have just tried to rotate the strike if there wasn't the right matchup that I felt. But yeah, just having that bravery and I think probably the way I went about it.
So the tools, I guess, have always been there. It's just, the game situation and recognising that and having the sort of courage to do it.
Yeah, I think so. I think I've always felt like my one-day game has been, like my explosive game's been there, but I think when you come onto the scene as a 20-year-old who scores 100 off 300 balls, you're not really expected to do that. So it was always the stigma around whether I could actually hit the ball off the square, but I always felt like I had that, and once I got the opportunity, I felt like I've enjoyed that.
X, what have you noticed sort of, I guess, playing with him, training alongside him in sort of his one-day game, and I guess T20 as well, playing together at the Heat?
Yeah, I think obviously, having that background of the red ball, probably where he first started, and I think that just his technique's so sound, and then obviously now he's sort of broadened that, and I think probably the 360ness of the way he hits around the ground is probably the main thing that probably goes unnoticed as well, and obviously a big bloke, so can hit the ball a long way, and then the way he takes on spin as well, sort of is probably something that's probably the strongest thing that I've seen, and probably I'd say more so the way that he hits 360 around the ground is really hard to bowl to.
Yeah, we saw you practicing a few ramps in the nets earlier, and then people remember that ramp, I guess, off the final ball against the Stars a couple of years back for the Heat. Is that something that you brought into your game?
Yeah, well, at the time I didn't really have it in my repertoire. It was more I was that tired that night that I didn't feel like I could hit the ball straight, so I tried to use as much pace as I could. But yeah, trying to bring these different options so that bowlers don't really know what I'm going to do, because if I don't know what I'm going to do, they definitely won't know what I'm going to do.
It's fair to say only Matty Kuhneman knew what you were going to do that night.
Yeah, well, it's his shot, so I think it should be trademarked Matt Kuhneman, the ramp.
X, what's Renners like to tour with for Queensland?
What's Renners like to tour with? He's obviously a great bloke. He's very experienced. I think obviously he's been around for a long time. I just think probably the energy that he brings to the group, always got a smile on his face, and he's always up to a bit of mischief as well in the dressing room.
Accurate assessment.
Yeah, very accurate. Been nice to me there.
You've obviously done a fair bit of touring this year across the globe, and we've seen a bit of a rise in A cricket, Australia A cricket in recent seasons. You've both been involved in that pretty closely. How's that been for guys who are on the fringes, I guess, of the national squad to play in those matches? Have you seen that as a positive to sort of have those opportunities?
Yeah, definitely. I was just in India recently playing in Lucknow in a Red Bull game. First time playing Red Bull cricket over there to sort of get that experience and exposure against a quality team in the India A team that they rolled out. For us sort of blokes that are on the fringe is really exciting as well to, I guess, also experience not only the conditions but then the different culture and all the things that come with India, and try not to get nicked off with being sick and food poisoning. I think a few of the boys got done. But it's a great experience from to get around and play in different conditions against quality opposition as well.
You played in that first game where there was a truckload of runs, scored I think 500 in both of the first innings. What was that experience like? Pretty bit of a graveyard for bowlers that first pitch.
Yeah, it was quite flat, but we were pretty lucky. We had Todd and Rock were there. They bowled majority of the overs, and me, Ferg and Liam Scott just sort of trundled out. I think we only bowled like 15 for the game. It was obviously really flat, and it was also a good opportunity for us to try and work out how to take wickets over there when there's not a lot on offer, and definitely learn a bit about the boys being out there for 150 overs with them.
And Matty, you likewise with the A stuff. You played against Sri Lanka A in July, got 60, 100 and 80. Is that right in the one-day matches?
Like
sort
that,
of helped you, I guess, get into this squad. How have you seen that rise in the A cricket? And
I think nowadays everyone's playing so much against and with each other now. You're playing all these A cricket, you get to know different people. Like you play against someone, you think they're not a good bloke, and then you meet them, just the way that they are on the field, you're like, okay, that makes more sense. But I think it's really good that you get to know people, so that if you do get the opportunity at the next level, you're not just coming out there not knowing anyone. I would have loved to play some A. I played a little bit of A cricket before my Test debut, but really it was like coming into the team, I had no idea who anyone was. Well, I knew who they were, they didn't know who I was. But like different experience, different cultures. The first time I went to India was the Test tour, and that was a whole nother thing. I think it's really good for guys, especially in the winter when you got opportunities to go to county cricket, you got all these franchise tournaments. If there's a bit of A cricket in there that breaks up the grind that pre-season can be, I think that's really important.
Who's someone in this squad perhaps that you wouldn't have played a lot against, but you might have played a bit of A cricket with? Cooper Connolly? Did you play any A cricket with him?
I didn't. He wasn't up in. Who would I have?
Josh Phillippe?
Josh Phillippe. Yeah, so he was up in Darwin. We spent most afternoons on the golf course together in the Darwin one-day series, and then playing cricket together, getting to know him. He's a great bloke, and I think he's sort of someone who's come out of that for me.
Sort of, as we touched on before, travelling across the world, this year, IPL, first stint over there, MLC, you're in the West Indies as well, top end. How have you found that, being on the road for an extended period of time this year?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, to get the opportunity to go in the IPL. I was very fortunate to have a few familiar faces with a few Aussies there as well, but, just the experience, that was my first time in India as well. Different world, the fans are so passionate, and it was obviously a long stint, so you sort of, try and find things to make the time go by. PlayStation, bit of golf, lots of chatting around with the boys. But it was a great experience. And then leading into America, didn't play that much in the IPL. So then to play in the MLC with San Fran and had an extended run with that was really good to sort of put the training behind me and play some games, which was nice.
Leading wicket taker in that tournament too. What's it like playing cricket in the US? A lot of people, it's sort of on the rise now, but a lot of people wouldn't have associate, the US with playing cricket.
Yeah, it was amazing. Our first couple of games were at the Open Coliseum, which is obviously a baseball stadium. Different size ground. It was only probably 55 metres the whole way around, but amazing experience to play there. And in Dallas, they had a great facility there, and in Fort Lauderdale as well. But it was really good comp. And once again, I was lucky enough to have a few familiar faces with a few of the Aussies. Cooper Connolly, Shorty, the big rooster was there as well. So it was a good bunch of blokes.
You've just come off the New Zealand T20 tour as well, where you played all 3 games. It's a boost sort of having that continuity in selection, because previously you've sort of been in and out of the side.
Yeah, it's obviously a tough team to break into. So many great bowlers. Yeah, it was good to get that experience to play in New Zealand as well. Different conditions again, different experiences. But yeah, to sort of get into that T20 team and be around it for an extended period now has been good. So hopefully you can continue to keep building on that and be in and around the squad a bit more as well.
Your first 2 one-days after you debuted against the West Indies last year couldn't have gone any perfectly more, I don't reckon. 8 wickets in those first 2 matches. I don't think anyone from Australia's ever done that. I guess, Matt, you'd be hoping your debut, if the chance comes, goes as well as that?
Yeah, definitely. Just try and do as well as X does. But no, it's nice having someone like X around, a bit of a familiar face. Yesterday on the flight, I got my family over. He was a little babysitter for a while. It was interesting to see him with a little child. So, it's nice having someone like him around for that comfort.
So you got sort of the 2 young kids over, wife as well, over for the week?
They're just coming to Perth. They've never been to Perth. Just thought we'd come for the journey, see what happens, keep them around. It's nice having these big moments in your career, having your family around. I think that's something that I always try and keep me grounded, is my family, and I think I'll go home and probably have to change a nappy, so it takes you out of the noise of cricket.
Have you, just landed in Perth, just had the first training session, but that role, sort of middle order role, 3 to 4, is something you think you'll play in this side, do you think, if you get an opportunity?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say that I'm going to go out and open. I think it'll be in that middle somewhere. So depending on what that looks like, I'm not sure. If the opportunity comes, I feel like I've done what I need to, whether that's come in early and try and rebuild or try and keep going, pushing the envelope. So I feel like I've got those gears in my game to be able to do that.
You see it as a bit of a transition in this side. You're obviously new into it, but had the retirements of Steve Smith, Marcus Stoinis, Glenn Maxwell as well from ODI cricket. There's sort of opportunities there to grab in this white, ODI side for Australia.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's obviously those guys. There's a World Cup coming, and Australia won the World Cup, so we're the holders. So there's obviously a lot of there's going to be a lot of pressure on Australia at the next World Cup, and I'm just looking forward to playing another game of cricket. It's pretty amazing to be able to say that you get to play cricket as a job, and to be able to go and rub shoulders with some of the guys in the dressing room is pretty cool. I think if you told 12-year-old Matt that this is going to be happening, he'd probably bite your finger off and tell you it's not going to happen. So, just trying to enjoy every moment possible.
And India, the number 1 ranked side in this format as well. A couple of decent batters in their lineup in Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, Shubman Gill as well. Are you excited by that challenge that those guys present?
Yeah, definitely. To play against the likes of those blokes. Grew up watching them on TV, especially Rohit and Virat. It's going to be an amazing opportunity to test my skills against theirs. And I guess if you say you get one of those blokes out, like Matt said, you bite your hand off. So to get the opportunity to play against them and just to really experience. Obviously, there's going to be some big crowds with the following that India have. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, you touched on the crowds. I think there's only a couple of thousand tickets left here and in Adelaide, and the SCG's sold out. That BBL final that you played here at Perth, would that be the biggest crowd you reckon you've played in front of in your career so far?
Yeah, I definitely. I still remember that, rocking up here. Sort of remember that. Bit of PTSD from that, actually. But, it was an awesome experience to play in front of that many people. And, still remember the feeling of it rocking when I think Nick Hobson hit the winning run. So, it still burns a little bit. But, good to be back.
Sorry for bringing that up.
No, you're right. It's all good.
Can you prepare to play in front of those sort of crowds? Coming out of, I guess, the Big Bash is consistently up around, I guess, the 20, 30,000 mark, but 50 sort of next level. What can you sort of do to prepare coming out of domestic cricket to play in front of a crowd like that?
Oh, I don't know if you can do anything, can you? But
VR.
Yeah, VR. Yeah.
Ryder Cup style.
Yeah. No, I think obviously just sort of trying to relax and a lot of familiar faces around the group, which I think helps, and just trying to stay in the moment and hopefully don't get heckled too much by the crowd.
And Mitch Starc and Josh Hazlewood both in this squad. I don't think you would have been in the squad with both of them at once at the point before. What sort of does that open for you, I guess, possibilities to learn from those guys?
Yeah, definitely. Quite surreal, obviously, growing up watching them on TV and Obviously been around them a little bit, but not in the same squad them, like you said. But, to learn off them, two of the best Australia's ever had. So, yeah, really looking forward to the opportunity to, seeing how they go about their business and also learning probably a lot more than I would just, by myself.
What do you sort of take, I guess, from watching them? What's the sort of biggest thing? Sort of Mitch out there bowling today. What do you sort of look to pick up from them?
Probably just like their preparation. I think, they've played so much cricket over a long period of time at such a high level. Just sort of like their discipline and those sort of things and how they keep their body in check. And then obviously also how they think about the game and, like those batters that you mentioned, probably try and pick their brains about how to get them out. Hopefully they got a few tips and tricks for me because they've probably got them all out a couple of times each.
I'd be remiss not to touch on Queensland briefly while I've got you both here, but started the season pretty well last week in the Shield, one-day cup as well, flying. Don't know if you were following, but I saw there's more runs for Marnus today. All going pretty well up in Queensland.
Yeah, it's been good. I think those first two one-days were really good wins. I think the second one in particular, we had Hugh Wibgen come and sort of light his name up in the sky, 100 and chase down something that probably at one point we were looking at an early finish. So, yeah, it was nice to get that win and then really good start in the Shield last week, putting Tassie under a lot of pressure and unfortunately couldn't get the result. And the one day probably stings me a little bit, like how we lost that one. But that's cricket. You can't win every game. So I think it's really trending in the right direction as a group. We've got a lot of senior guys that are standing up and then a lot of young guys coming in who are pushing the door for us senior guys. It's there's a few guys on the sidelines right now that probably deserve to be in a Shield team at some point, but fortunately that's the way that we're trying to build is this tough team to get into.
Yeah, a couple of really close games up in AB Field. And 100 in the first Shield game for you, Matt. How are you going with that attention around that opening spot? It seems to be the same, I guess, every summer, doesn't it?
Feels like that. Sometimes you're in it, sometimes you're not in it. But no, I try and keep away from all that sort of stuff. I know people are going to be writing stuff, people are going to be speculating, but I can't really control that. I can't control what articles are, but I'm just going to go out there and try and have fun. That was something last week in that 4-dayer, whether I got 120 or 20, I think is the way I went about things and the way I want to bat that's how I've sort of gone about it this year rather than just looking at the runs. I think that's cricket's sometimes problem is like we just see the runs and it's like, oh, he made 100, he must have batted well, but I batted terribly for my first 15 runs last week. But it's just the way that cricket is everyone just looks at that runs rather than how things worked out and the way you went about it.
Have you seen Marnus' form to start the season?
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? I think he's missed out once or something. So, but yeah, he's been great. Batting with him last week in the Shield game, and then the one day as well. He's just so on. It's peak Marnus, so it's really good to see, and it's good that the work that he's done in the off season is sort of working out for him now.
Before we let you go, guys, thanks for joining us again. I might ask you both about the Heat and what they got to do to sort of bounce back this season in the Big Bash.
Yeah, obviously it's an exciting time of the year. Yet to play in Teal, but I think the biggest thing for us will just be have to wait and see how we shape up fitness-wise. Obviously waiting on Big Spencer Johnson to see how he's shaping, but I think if we're fully fit, we're one of the best teams in the comp. I think we showed that last year with sort of our depth. A few blokes getting a game over the last couple of years that have really stood up, and yeah, no doubt that we're in for another big year if everyone stays on the park.
We saw Jack Wildermuth, impressive in the T20 Max. Is he someone, he hasn't sort of been able to crack into the side over the last few years, but he's someone who come in and make a bit of a difference this season?
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of guys pushing for some spots, obviously it depends who we have available during the Big Bash. But I think, look at 2 years ago when we won, our bowling attack didn't change the whole tournament. So I look at our bowlers and they'll win us the tournament. Us batters will hopefully try and get enough runs to... Sometimes we don't make enough and the bowlers come out and be geniuses. So got a couple of personnel changes, losing a couple of sort of familiar faces. So it's going to be interesting to see how the team dynamic is. But yeah, I think if we're playing well, we're up there in the finals time and hopefully trying to get another win.
Well, we'll leave it there, but thanks very much for joining us on the Unplayable Podcast. All the best for the first ODI out here in the series ahead and the summer as well. So go well.
Thank you. Cheers.